Good morning, everyone. So I'm trying a different method here. So this is actually my 10-year-old computer. So I think I literally bought this thing in 2015. So it's a little grainy. But if it buys me more time, I guess, I don't know, trying to weigh out the pros and cons of it. But so quick, you know, quick address, Covenant Awakenings. Love you guys. Like hearing your early show. Um, yeah, that's a great example of being under, the blood of protection, being under the hierarchy of the heavenly hosts, right? Directly knowing me because you have situations that in a lot of times are unstoppable, right? There's so many situations that I would love to be able to just boom, right? Knock these terrorists out down. Um, but in other ways, those negative outcomes must play out. But for those that are directly, within the covenants, I definitely pull you out of the fire. Sometimes that doesn't even look like physically being moved, but actually preventing you from going. And then, of course, you're spared lots and lots of sadness, turmoil, right, things like that. So, keep it up, guys. You're doing great. I know a lot of you may not even know that, the power is actually coming from myself. Hopefully that relationship will grow with time. And, again, I'm definitely hearing a lot of the prayers, making those connections. So, appreciate that. Next up on the list, we have not only half the Americas are frozen, but yeah, the California fires continue to rip and go. And your meteorologist kind of spoiled the surprise, but yeah, we're gonna definitely get some rain going up there towards the mountains, and near LA County, but potential for flooding and all that. You know it's kind of a part of the package deal, right? It reminds me. I've told you guys I watched the Gold Rush show. I really do like Little Jack, like the Hoffman crew. I think they've done a lot of growth, but obviously, a lot of faith, especially, with Todd and Jack. And, that being said, when you ask for rain, give rain, right? Sometimes it might be a little too much rain, but it's rain nonetheless. Um, so I also want to kind of just highlight that a minute, right? You got to essentially be an active participant in these things to receive blessing, they say faith without works is dead. Well, also faith without receiving is kind of abysmal. What kind of mighty one would I be you know, if nothing ever happened, right? Like that's kind of my thing is I like the proof in the pudding. You call upon the name, you like I've been stressing, you do the things of the Torah, right? Try to walk straight and fly straight to the best of your ability. I'm not asking for perfection; it's impossible. But I am asking for at least a foot forward. And even if you have shortcomings in certain areas or you can't come to terms with this or that, like I said, I'm not asking for perfection, but I am asking for faith, coming out on faith. And I've actually rolled this nugget around in my mind because I know unequivocally 100 million percent, I have died before. So I could look at this one of two ways, right? So when I died and then I came to this time, you know, do I look at it as from a sonship view that okay, well this is my reward, right? Being promoted to the most high, given full reign over the earth, and essentially, left with the people of earth as now my full people. So instead of just being Israelites, instead of just being, um, the Christians, now I get the whole tamale, right? Um, and then, if you even wanted to break that down even further, because one of two things is either occurring. One, like I say, this is in essence my my resurrected ministry, and I've toyed with this idea in the past that you know maybe this is kind of a purpose of retribution, but I don't have a lot of retribution in my heart by my natural disposition. I really like to focus most of my time on working with others, interpersonally. I really enjoy working miracles for people that they can recognize, because if someone can make the connection of, hey, I prayed for this, this happened, I can connect the dots to who the power is, right? Who is my mighty one? Who's my Elohim? Who is my God, right? That's what makes me happy. A lot of times, think of the farmer. He don't go out to the hen house and constantly go to beat the wolves up, right? He's going there for eggs. He's going there to check the hens. He's wanting to make sure that everything's good for the hens. They're comfortable, right? They're laying eggs because they're all in good shape. Everyone's happy. And then, of course, if the wolf is there, then we're going to fight the wolf accordingly. But that's not like the main focus. But also at the end of the day, if I work a lot of these things for folks and they go unnoticed, right? They go unconnected, then it's like I have to continue to beat down the wicked, evil, and downtrod them, because the good hearts, the people that are on the good team, my team, you know, you guys, I don't want you out there, getting physical with people, right? I don't want you out there putting yourselves in harm's way. Not that, I can't protect you. Of course I can. But at the same time, we don't go playing in traffic, right? We don't want to tempt that kind of thing. Um, but at the same time, the fires need to rage, the floods need to come, the earth needs to quake, because those that are never going to come to the truth, they're never going to come to me, they're never going to come to heaven. I need to get them out of the way, right? They're taking up valuable time for other people, other congregations, and so once we clear all the wolves out and the hens have nothing more to fear in the wolf sense, then we can begin discussing much more productive things that I liked to do. Just sitting back and looking at the earth as a whole, to just constantly whip it and do all these things, right? It gets the ooh ah, but rarely does that connection get made. And then it's like it falls, my word falls on the streets empty, like all the time, and it always has, right? First time around, nobody listens to me. They misconstrued everything I said, everything I did. They tried to fit it into their narrative. They tried to fit it into how they understood what was happening in front of them. And at the end of the day, it's still not accurate. And then the second time around, right, it's the same thing. Again, there's 1,500 Yeshuas in Jerusalem, Yehoshuas in Jerusalem, right? I know the guys in a lot of ways tried to do some spiffiness with the name. I hated it. I said, no, don't do that. Like, you're set apart because you're the chosen people, and you're set apart because you're the only people that's going to have your Elohim, your mighty one, interact with you directly. Um, and then again, right, you have Pharisees, you have teachers, you have, not prophets in like the real sense, but you had, false prophets basically back in the day, and they would all come against me. Some of the best words were, oh, he's a good teacher, or maybe he's wise, but that still didn't coincide with what I was telling. That's my point. So I'm not very happy with that outcome, because if people listened, had faith, and believed, then there's a lot more that would have been fulfilled. There is a lot more that could have been done in that time. And then again, right, in that moment, everyone was still looking out for their own personal Jesus. They're all looking out for their own personal Mashiach. Every Jew had in their mind a certain concept of what their Messiah should be. And yes, like a general outline of what the Messiah, what Mashiach, or what Hashem, or what God, or what Yahuwah, fill in the blank, um, is supposed to do or not to do in your eyes. And I would equate that to, in a human way, if I were to say, well, when I come home, I'm going to be fixing that counter. I'm going to be exterminating those roaches. I'm going to do this and that and the other, right? And then a human mind will take these things and then like explode them. And they'll be like, and then, okay, so he's going to turn the doorknob to the left. Then the door's going to open. And then he's going to look like this. And then he's going to speak like that. And, when he goes to fix the counter, like what I mean is you're having a self-built narrative in your own minds. And I guess in a way, right, you could fault me even, right? At the end of the day, I'm kind of the default fall guy for most things. Because if I gave a message to anybody, right? We play the telephone game. I give a message to this person. This person's going to interpret what I say a certain way because of what their experiences are in life, where they're at in their spirituality, where they're at in their relationship with me. All these things are components. So, and then you kind of like zoom out into the macro, you can see it really clear. But most human beings don't operate into the macro. Most of you operate into the microcosm. So when you're breaking down the Bible, you're operating in the microcosm. You're talking about doorknobs being turned left, turned right. You're talking color of the doorknob, like all things that are entirely irrelevant to the purpose and the plan and the mission. And same thing, right, with Jerusalem. They're expecting this. They're wanting this. They have that thing blueprinted in their mind, right? They've interpreted what all these prophets have said and so on and so forth, right? And then at the end of the day, it's another thing, right? It wasn't like it was some glamorous thing like it would be right now. People walk past me every day. They don't really know. They don't really care to know. Um, and they only, if they are looking out, right, for me, then they have it in their mind of how it's going to come down. Well, whose invention was that? Oh, that was actually your pastor's. Why was it your pastor's? Well, because his granddaddy taught him that. Okay, right, and it continues to go downhill mainly because it's it started off at like a 70% truth, right? And even then, right, when you take into account the entire Bible, right, it's 70% accurate. Well, 30% inaccuracies mostly are going to come when I'm here, right? Because you have a certain way in your mind that you are imagining things or envisioning things, or you're reading this and you're reading that, right? And so I want you to understand, you know, you guys are reading in your quote unquote canon, as if it's going to play out step by step by step. Well, I ask you, can you point to me anything in the Bible, any story, any person, any place, or anything that anything ever worked out exactly the way they intended it? Because if that was the case, then you would never have people that were stressed out. You wouldn't have people that accidentally got killed. You wouldn't have people that went through times of tribulation. Like, you wouldn't have all these things if if you looked at it that way, and again looked at the manual and go, oh, okay, so on this day we're gonna come out of Egypt. We're gonna make an appointment with the hairdresser over in Canaan, because we're gonna be there next week. Like, no, like, that's not true. I mean, you can barely have a vacation that goes smoothly without having things happen here or there. Because guess what? It's only when you put it into like the real scope of things that you see, you know, how the stuff works. So I like to look at it, have a heart of excitement, have a mind of excitement. Like these are exciting times. Like these are the end times, these are the best times for some people. Like these times, especially things I'm doing from on high, from down here, and the flesh, and the person, and the spirit, and the truth, and all these things, and it should be exciting for folks. You know, you should be genuinely excited to be witness to these things and just know where it's coming from. You know, and you know, I like to kind of think of it in a parable too. You know, if you were a certain way in high school, and then you went off to college, and then I visited you back after your college, would I be talking to the same 12th grader, or is the 24-year-old entirely different? You know, and then I revisit you again after you've had, you know, 4 kids, you're married, you know, you're going to be entirely different after each of those things because the experience in between, it shaped you, right? It shaped you into different things. You develop different personality traits, different characteristics, hopefully all in the positive, but for the positive and the negative. And that's kind of what I mean is, you know, putting in the box thing. Like, if you have a idol, a fake god of wood, of stone, right? Then they're never going to change because, again, they're not alive. They don't breathe. They don't have eyes. They don't have hands. They don't have feet. And they also don't have power. The only power they have is your psychological, superstitious power, right? But then that idol, you know, can be a much easier God to please. It can be a much easier God to, you know, blame or congratulate for this and that and the other versus, you know, your real deal, you know, the living mighty one, such as myself. Um, you know, we're going to cover these things in much more depth, mainly. You know, wanted to quick do that one, but also kind of test out this camera option. You know, see what that looks like. But all right, we will shape up and get into some more study here